What up, everybody? It BMF Season 2, Episode 3. We got Pastor Swift giving advice to Charles and Lucille Flenory. And I can spit me some scriptures now. And the Bible talks about a seed landing on stony ground, meaning someone hearing the word and then rejecting it. I could do a whole sermon off that just off the top of my head. See, I've been to prison, and while I was there, I read the Bible day and night. Facing 26 years in prison, I'm gonna put my faith in God, and that's what I did. But we got Pastor Swift giving Charles and Lucille sound advice in this episode, and both them being that stony ground and rejecting the word of the Lord. And their relationship has been going downhill. They've been having problems for a while, and it basically started out financially, but it is only getting worse. In season 1, we saw Lucille had to work a job at Wendy's to help Charles support the family. In episode 1 of this season, we actually see Lucille in her Wendy's uniform complaining to Charles about Nicole not having underclothes that fit. And Charles say he's going to do something about it. The business that him and Terry have started, the car business, is starting to turn a profit, and he'll be able to take her out to nice dinners and everything real soon. Later on that same episode, we see Lucille rejecting Charles in bed in the middle of the night. Now, keep in mind, she told him she has to be up in 3 hours to go work a full day, 8-9 hour shift at Wendy's, come home, take care of Nicole, and probably cook dinner for Charles and the rest of the family as well. So I mean, she has a lot going on. She trying to wake her up in the middle of the night for that. I can see why she rejected Charles now. But in episode 2, things start getting even worse. At this point, Lucille finds dirty magazines in Charles' guitar case. And then she goes on her trip. Before going to her trip to Cleveland, she takes Nicole shopping to buy her those underclothes that she so desperately needed. While at the store, the clerk offers Lucille a store credit card. And Lucille agrees to get the credit card, and she tells Nicole, go back and get you the nicest underwear that there was, and I'm gonna go shopping for myself too. So Lucille ran it up on that store credit card, ran up a bankroll to put her and Charles in debt now, so she could look nice on her trip to Cleveland. But at the end of the episode, they have a confrontation about these issues. Lucille is in her new nightgown that she bought with a credit card, saying she's just trying to live up to the girls in those magazines that Charles be looking at. And he tells her, well, maybe if she was getting a little attention at home, he wouldn't have to look at those magazines. And then she tells Charles that she ran up this credit card to buy Nicole the underwear and herself the clothes that she just got. And that sets them off to a boiling point going into episode 3, where we have Lucille confining in Pastor Swift to let him know about their marital issues. I mean, it's reaching a boiling point now. She's turning to the man of God, their pastor. Who else can she turn to? I mean, she's been praying about it. She ain't got no answer from the Lord about it. Things only getting worse. So she turns to Pastor Swift, and Pastor Swift gives her some good advice. He lets her know it's not all about how you look, sister. It's your spirit, how you treat Charles. But she tells Pastor Swift it's just not easy for her to submit to no man. But Pastor Swift gives her advice she gonna wish she had listened to. I suggest that you pray until it becomes easy. Thus says the Bible. So, after that we got Pastor Swift going to Charles and confronting Charles. Now, this might have been where Pastor Swift was in the wrong from Lucille confiding in him, but at the same time, I don't feel like he was in the wrong for approaching Charles with the information that Lucille had given him. He tells Charles if he needs any advice or he needs to talk to him, that he is there as his pastor. But Charles is caught off guard and he is pissed off. And he threatens to knock out. He said, I ain't ever put my hands on a man of the cloth before. If you say another word about my bed, I'm going to knock your skinny out. And Pastor Swift plays it cool. He said, I can respect that, brother. But just know that pride oftentimes comes before the fall. And now you can take that as a warning. Pastor Swift, the man of God from this show, is given to Charles. We might not have seen it at this episode, but Charles' pride might end up getting the best of him and costing him his marriage, or maybe even more later down the line. But as Charles is walking out, Pastor Swift checks Charles and tells him to find somewhere else to keep those worldly magazines. Because remember, he's keeping his dirty magazines in his guitar case, and he is the church guitar player. So I guess Pastor Swift is indicating that he brings those magazines into the church. I don't know if he probably finds somewhere else to put the magazines before he goes to church. I don't know, but Pastor Swift basically put him in check with that line, telling him basically he is not intimidated by Charles. After church, Charles is on the way to Mabel's to fix the fan, the same girl he was in the church flirting with while he was playing the guitar. And Lucille asks him, when are you gonna fix these walls? It's been 2 years. And Charles loses his temper and he asks Lucille, how could she discuss their issues with a stranger? And he tells her that basically calling Pastor Swift a stranger is saying that he's on his third wife. Now keep in mind, Pastor Swift is a little shady. We saw him in season 1 letting Tiny sleep in the church, and he was getting Pastor Swift a grip. So we don't know what all Pastor Swift's into, but I mean it's obvious. Snoop Dogg playing the character. We know Pastor Swift just gotta be a little bit shady. He gotta be a little bit crooked. He can't be all the way straight now. Come on. But anyway, Lucille says he's still a man of God, in which she was right on because he gave both of them some excellent advice. But Charles asks, when am I going to start getting some respect around here? And this was Lucille's opportunity to humble herself and try to make things right with Charles again, listening to Pastor Swift, the one she acknowledges as a man of God. She could have took his advice and she could have made things right with Charles right then. But no. Lucille adds fuel to the fire. For real. She tells Charles, when you earn it. Oh God, that's like smacking the man in the face. For real. Like for real. Keep in mind, Charles is trying. He works a legit job. He's trying to be a man of God. He just doesn't have a lot of money at the time, but he's trying to come up. He's working with Terry with the car service business, and he's trying to make a better life for him and his family, a legit way, not like how Meech is doing it in the streets, but he's trying to get it the right way, how he feels is right. So at this point, he storms out. He goes to Mabel's to fix the fan. Mabel puts on some music and he loosens up and starts dancing with Mabel while at her house. She also pays Charles for the work that he's done for her fan, and tells Charles that his time is valuable. Now, this is exactly the type of spirit that Swift was telling Lucille she should have. And Mabel is demonstrating this towards Charles. Now, my question is, does Mabel really want Charles? Or is she just a friend who's just kind of little, likes to have a good time, but she doesn't really want Charles? Or is she trying to take Lucille's husband from her? That's my question. Because Charles, right now, his wife isn't too happy. He doesn't seem like he has too much to offer for Mabel. So, but maybe she might be lonely. Maybe he do have a lot to offer, and Lucille is just ungrateful for what he has done. One thing we do know is that we almost guaranteed are going to see Charles and Lucille divorced at some point throughout this series, because the fact is, in real life, they were already divorced at this point. They were divorced when Demetrius and Terry were probably like 15 and 14 years old. So this is way past overdue now. So by the end of this season, I would definitely expect the Flenory parents to be divorced. Leave your thoughts in the comments.